Well, Shemai everyone, I've gone a little bit from zero to hero because this is actually my second process video in the week. So I've gone from nothing to two quite quickly. So I'm using this lovely cut file which is from Peartree Cutfiles, and I'm going to be using some Sunkissed collection with it. I'm showing you lots of things there that I won't actually use by the end of it. I've already backed the cut file using some of the 6x8 papers. It's such a beautiful cut file to use, and I'm going to use some mixed media then at the back of the cut file to add more detail. And I'm actually going to use distress ink. I don't use my distress inks very often. I tend to use my distress oxides. I've applied gesso to my page because it's actually just a piece of textured American crafts cardstock, so it's not all that great. And as you can see, my kitchen roll there has left an imprint, an exciting bit of texture. So I've gone for Mowed Lawn and Salty Ocean. So I'm just using the packaging technique there, do some splatters as well. But I use clear gesso all over it because then it sort of takes the mixed media slightly better. As I say, it's still warped this cardstock slightly. I wouldn't recommend this cardstock for doing mixed media, to be honest. And as you can see, then I'm trying to blot some of it up. I forget how intense the colour is, I think, on distress inks after using distress oxides. But I wanted that sort of effect, that mottled sort of effect to go behind my globe. And I'm actually using this picture of my mum and dad when we were on holidays. 34 years ago perhaps. I know you're thinking to yourself, she can't possibly be that old, but I am. So I realised that once I put my cut file on, I wouldn't see anything at the top, so I had to add a little bit more on, which actually helps because soon I'm going to take an inch off two sides of my white cardstock and I'm going to back it on one of the pattern papers. So I'm just using some of these offcuts that I use to back my cut file, just to mat my photo. If you hear any strange noise in the background, my little dog is sat by the side of me and she's got a bit of a funny belly today, so she's feeling very sorry for herself. So there's a bit of gurgling going on, so that's her belly and not mine. So as you can see, the one piece wasn't big enough, but I've just sort of extended it by using the spotty paper just to back and layer my photo slightly. I did have to trim my photo down just so it would fit inside the globe. I must be honest, when you're using a big cut file, it's sometimes quite difficult to know where to put your photo. Now I cut all of that out because that's all I was doing, was using bits of funky foam and foam pads to raise up my cut file. To be honest, I was bored doing it, so I knew you wouldn't want to watch it. So as you can see, I've just trimmed down my white cardstock, and I was going to use this dark blue as the background for my page, originally, but then I went for the white. But I'm just getting the middle of it because even though I love the rainbow on the front, I won't be able to use the rainbow, but I love this blue as well. I am going to have to order some more sheets of this collection. And you can see my cut file now is ready to go. As you can see, I didn't cut to the end, so I've had to just snip out the rest of it. I'm going to distress the edges of my white cardstock. Now, people make this look so easy. I've got my little distress tool. I don't know whether it's because I'm left-handed, but I look incredibly awkward using this distress tool. As we would say in Wales, a bit cack-handed, which means a bit awkward. Cack is also the word for poo though. So yeah, make of that as you will. I tend to use liquid adhesive to stick the centerpiece on, just because you can wiggle it around until you're in the right place. I've learned from experience that double-sided tape, there is no going back unless you use the repositional. And that's all I'm going to do then, is use some sellotape and just adhere that around. I didn't make you watch me do all of it. Now, I'm looking at that at this point and thinking, my world doesn't stand out enough. I was planning to cut that out of pattern paper on my machine, but I shut down the the program and I hadn't saved it, so I couldn't work out what size I had it originally. So I'm going to have to be a bit more inventive. So I'm using a distress ink, and because this cardstock here hasn't had any gesso applied, I've got to be quite sparing with it. So I've got quite a thick brush and I'm just gently painting it on, and as if by magic it's done. And because of the shimmer in it, on there it doesn't look like it stands out very much, but in real life it does really pull it out from the back of the page. I've also adhered that now to the background. And I think sometimes when you have a really big cut file, there's not an awful lot more you need to do with it. You can keep your embellishments to the bare minimum, because otherwise your page will be too busy. So I've got a few little bits and pieces, like that little banner that I add on with foam pads just at the top corner there. But as I say, Peartree Cutfiles, I've got some lovely cut files. I treated myself to a few the other day. I'm sure there should have been another little bow on the side of that banner, but I don't know whether it had broken in the pack, because I couldn't find it anywhere. So we'll just have to use our imaginations for that. And I wanted the sun because it was a lovely sunny day and they're wearing their sunglasses. My father's got his big hair going on. I inherited my father's big hair, so I've got those curls. So I know what a nightmare they are to manage. Naturally curly hair, people say, oh, how wonderful. Not when you're trying to comb it. And I've used on vacation. I love these little phrase pieces. I've just added sweet memories to the bottom. And I've just got a few little hearts then to dot around. I love the embellishment packs with Cocoa Vanilla. Well, I must be honest, I love everything about Cocoa Vanilla. I love the muted colours they use. I love all the little extra bits. Now I'm going to use some Nuvo drops because I am challenging myself to use Nuvo drops as much as possible. And I'm just going to put it around the outline of the globe because I think perhaps I should have coloured that in as well, because it doesn't stand out too much. But once I put the yellow Nuvo drops around, it does enhance it. Actually, once I had backed the cut file, which is a nice easy one to back because they're quite broad pieces in the centre, it came together really quickly. So we're coming to the end now, and at the end of my video I've got some up close photos. Once again, huge thanks for joining me. It's been lovely to be back. I have really enjoyed it. My mum would be up there thinking, good girl, get back to it. Just this last little wooden piece, and I think that's it. So thank you everyone for joining me. Take care everyone, and hwyl fawr.